Alrighty guys, been a request to see what a transition can look like. So what I've done is I've gone and set mine up here. So just before I get started, I do apologise for any background noise. I'm actually at the front of my house, so on my little bike rack out here. But this is how I set up a transition, and there's a few different ways you can do it, but let's have a look at what I've done here. So obviously I've racked it by the handlebars. Now that is a requirement that you rack by handlebars. You will see some people in the morning will flip it around and hang it by the seat. Some race officials will allow it. For the most part though, you do need to rack it by the handlebars. Depending on the bike that you've got, you might need to get some cable ties to actually hang it off the bike rack, but they're for those really narrow ones, and even like really small ladies' bikes might need that as well. It's worth just sort of checking to see what might work. If you're unsure, take a photo, send it through to your coach and ask them. But for the most part, if your bike looks a bit like mine at the front end, you're not going to have any problems. And road bike should be fine as well. Alright, so you're always going to set up on the right hand side of the bike, so that's the chain side, never on the other side, always on the chain side. And then what you need to do is, if towels are allowed, and for most of the events that people will be doing, towels are allowed on race morning, you can set it up. It's usually only on world champs type events that you can't. So I set my towel up. What I do is I fold my towel in half and then I lay it out lengthways, as you can see there, and I'll explain why I do that in a moment. But the key point here is, when setting up your equipment down the bottom here, you've got to almost work backwards. Alright, so what I do is I have my helmet down here, and you can see I've got the straps open. So basically when I come in from swim, I can grab my helmet and put it straight onto my head and clip it on, and that's really important because you're not allowed to take your bike off the rack until your helmet is strapped on. So it's the very first thing I do. What I then do is I then put my shoes straight on, unrack the bike, and then just run straight out onto the bike course. So it's pretty simple for that one. Now when I come back, I rack my bike again, take my helmet off, and then take my shoes off, and I put all of that up above my running gear. Now if I remove my bike gear here, so get rid of it, I'm left with this, and again I'm working in reverse. So I will then immediately put on my shoes. So if I think about it, I've come in, I'll put my helmet up here, my helmet will probably go up the top, my shoes will go up the top, so it'll be just tossed up there. I'll put my shoes on, and then the other things I've got here are my hat, my sunnies, and I've got a race bib belt. Okay, so this is for your race number if it's applicable. Now I'll put the shoes on and I'll spend time making sure I get them on right. If I needed socks for if I was doing a 70.3 or an Ironman event, I would actually have my socks here, and I don't leave them bunched up because it wastes time. I'll leave them out like that, and I'll put them on, then put my shoes on. If it's an Olympic or a sprint, then I'll just go sockless, put my shoes straight on, and then everything else, so once my shoes are on, everything else I just grab and go. So I tend to have my race number out like that, and I'll reach down and quickly put that on and snap it around my back and clip it, and then my hat and my sunnies. And if I had nutrition, I'd also have that there in like a little Ziploc bag. What I do is I grab and go. I don't put them on and then run off. I grab it, run off, and as I'm running onto the run course, I'm putting my hat on, putting my sunnies on, and then putting my nutrition in my pocket. Now if I set this all back up the way we had it, we'll include the socks there, and then I'll put these back down, and the helmet. So the reason I have my towel out like this is, what I can do, particularly if it's raining, I'll fold it up and it keeps things just a little bit dry. But the advantage is that when I get back off my swim, if I pull it out, I've then got somewhere where I can stand. So if it's a particularly sandy sort of transition up or run up from the beach, then I've got a spot to sort of dry my feet off and got something to stand on. All right, I wouldn't have it set up like this normally because it tends to stick out a bit far into transition, but once the race starts, it'll be fine. That's about it, guys. That's pretty much what I do for my transition. Any questions, either send me an email, catch up with me somewhere, or ask your coach. Cheers.